Imagine you were a gambler thousands of years ago, standing at the crossroads of ancient civilizations, and someone asked you to place a bet on which language would one day dominate the world. The idea of English as the global language would have seemed not just unlikely, but downright absurd to anyone at the time. After all, English didn't even exist yet. There was no trace of it on any scroll, stone, or spoken tongue. Its birthplace was a mist-shrouded island on the far edge of the mighty Roman Empire, a land where Celtic languages echoed across windswept hills and rugged coastlines, now mostly surviving only in the remote corners of the British Isles. The notion that a language from this isolated, often overlooked corner would one day become the voice of diplomacy, science, business, and pop culture was unimaginable. Yet the rise of English is a tale woven from invasions, cultural collisions, and centuries of relentless transformation. From the arrival of Germanic tribes to the rule of French-speaking nobles, English absorbed and blended words from Latin, Norse, French, and countless other languages, creating a unique linguistic tapestry. The result? A language both rich and inconsistent, full of quirks and surprises, now spoken by billions of people across continents and cultures. To truly understand English, we must look back at the waves of people who shaped it. Romans, Angles, Saxons, Vikings, Normans, and many more. Each group left their mark, but it was the Germanic tribes whose dialects formed the very bedrock and foundation of what we now call English. In this video, we'll journey from ancient migrations and the chaos of the Norman conquest through the golden age of Shakespeare and out into the modern interconnected world. We'll explore how English not only survived but adapted, borrowed, and thrived, becoming a global giant that continues to evolve every single day. The story of English is one of survival, adaptation, and improbable triumph, a journey from obscurity to global dominance, and it's far from over. Languages, much like people, belong to extensive families that span across continents and centuries. Most European and many Asian languages trace their roots back to a single ancient tongue known as Proto-Indo-European, a language that has influenced countless cultures. Although it was never written down, linguists have painstakingly reconstructed it by comparing its many descendants, languages like English, Spanish, Russian, Hindi, and many others. The Indo-European family tree is vast, with numerous branches such as Italic, including Latin, French, Spanish, Hellenic, Greek, Indo-Iranian, Hindi, Bengali, and, crucially for us, the Germanic branch. The Germanic branch, originally spoken by tribes in Northern Europe, eventually gave rise to languages like English, Dutch, German, and the Scandinavian languages. You can still see the family resemblance in words like water in English, Wasser in German, and water in Dutch, showcasing their shared heritage. Long before the Romans or the French influenced it, English was merely a collection of dialects spoken by tribes who had no idea their words would one day circle the globe and become a global language. The fascinating story of English begins not in England itself, but with ancient migrations across the vast expanses of Eurasia. For centuries, Germanic tribes were just one group among many, living far from the mighty power of Rome, yet poised for change. However, the decline of Rome opened the door for these tribes to move, conquer, and plant the seeds of what would eventually become the English language. Their language laid the foundation for what would evolve into modern English, a language that continues to transform and adapt. The rest is a captivating story of transformation, adaptation, and growth. And it all started with a family tree, a testament to the interconnectedness of human language and history. For nearly 4 centuries, Britain was a Roman province. The Romans built cities and roads, but Latin never replaced the local Celtic languages. When the Romans withdrew in the early 5th century, chaos followed. The Britons, vulnerable to raids, sought help from across the sea. Enter the Angles, Saxons, and Jutes, Germanic tribes from what's now Denmark and northern Germany. Invited as mercenaries, they soon realized the land was worth settling. Over decades they arrived in waves, pushing the native Celts to the island's fringes. These settlers established kingdoms, and their dialects merged into what we call Old English. The land itself got a new name, England, the land of the Angles. This was no single invasion, but a slow migration that changed Britain forever. The foundation of English was laid, not by conquerors alone, but by generations of settlers. Their language would become the backbone of English. A new chapter had begun. Old English would sound utterly foreign to us, closer to German or Icelandic than modern English. It was a fully Germanic language with complex grammar and no silent letters. Words like knight, night, and gnite, nat, were pronounced exactly as spelled. The most famous Old English work is Beowulf, whose opening lines are powerful but nearly unrecognizable today. Yet Old English is the true parent of our language. Many of our most basic words, father, mother, hand, water, eat, come straight from Old English. These sturdy, everyday words form the core of English. While later centuries would add thousands of borrowed words, this Anglo-Saxon foundation remains. It's the language of home, farm, and heart, direct, earthy, and emotional, and it's been with us for over 1,000 years. Just as Anglo-Saxon England was taking shape, the Vikings arrived. Starting in the late 8th century, Norse raiders struck England's coasts, then settled, especially in the north and east, the Danelaw. The Vikings spoke Old Norse, a close cousin of Old English, making communication possible and blending inevitable. Instead of one language replacing the other, they merged. English absorbed over 2,000 Norse words: sky, skin, leg, window, husband, law, and even the pronouns they, their, and them. The Danes weren't just rulers, they were neighbors, farmers, and traders. Old Norse also helped simplify English grammar, making it more flexible. The result was a language richer and more streamlined. The Viking legacy is everywhere in modern English. Their influence helped shape the language we speak today. The year 1066 changed everything, marking a pivotal moment in English history. William the Conqueror's victory at the Battle of Hastings brought a French-speaking elite to England, altering the social and linguistic landscape. For 3 centuries, French was the language of power, law, and high culture. It dominated the courts and the aristocracy. Latin remained the language of the church and scholarship, preserving ancient knowledge and religious texts. English was left to the common people, spoken in the fields and villages, far from the halls of power. English nearly vanished as a written language, its survival uncertain in a world dominated by French and Latin. Yet, it survived, thanks in part to bilingual children and intermarriage, which blended cultures and languages. By the 1300s, English made a remarkable comeback, but it was transformed into something new and vibrant. The New English, Middle English, was a hybrid of Old English and Norman French, a testament to cultural fusion. Around 10,000 French words entered English, especially in government, law, military, and fashion, enriching the language. This created a rich set of synonyms, offering nuanced ways to express ideas and emotions. Words like kingly, English versus royal French, illustrate this duality, as do ask versus inquire, and so on, providing depth to the language. Even our food vocabulary reflects this blend. Peasants raised cows and pigs, tending to the livestock with care, but the nobility dined on beef and pork, enjoying the fruits of the peasants' labor. The dual vocabulary is a direct legacy of the Norman conquest, a historical turning point. English became a language of both the farm and the court, bridging social divides. Its flexibility and richness grew with every borrowed word, adapting and evolving. The Norman invasion didn't destroy English, it supercharged it, infusing it with new life. The result was a language ready for the next great leap, poised for future innovations and global influence. As Middle English took hold, a massive change swept through the Great Vowel Shift. Between 1400 and 1700, the way English speakers pronounced long vowels changed dramatically. This is why English spelling is so tricky. Words like name, house, and night were once pronounced very differently. The printing press locked in old spellings just as pronunciation shifted. This era gave us early modern English, the language of Shakespeare and the King James Bible. Shakespeare, a master of this evolving tongue, invented or popularized hundreds of words and phrases still in use today. The Great Vowel Shift also left us with silent letters and odd spellings, a living museum of English's past. After the shift, English was recognizably modern, but its spelling and sound were forever out of sync. The language was now ready to travel the world. Its flexibility and expressiveness had never been greater, and its greatest stories were just beginning. From the 1600s, English began its global journey. British explorers, settlers, and traders carried it to North America, the Caribbean, Australia, India, and Africa. As the British Empire grew, so did English, absorbing words from every land it touched. Moose, raccoon, kangaroo, bungalow, zombie. English became a collector of global vocabulary. American English emerged, preserving some older features and developing its own identity. Noah Webster's spelling reforms and the rise of American culture made U.S. English a global force. Hollywood, pop music, and the internet spread American English worldwide. Words like okay, cool, and teenager became universal. English was no longer just British, it was truly global. Its story was now everyone's story. English is changing faster than ever in the digital age. The internet, social media, and texting have created new words, acronyms, and ways of speaking. LOL, BRB, to Google, to tweet. English keeps mixing with other languages, creating new varieties like Singlish and Hinglish. These aren't mistakes. They're proof of English's adaptability. Every generation worries about language decay, but change is a sign of life. English is alive, evolving, and impossible to pin down. What will it sound like in 500 years? No one knows. The only certainty is that it will be different. From Beowulf to Beyoncé, English's journey is far from over. Its future will be as surprising as its past. The story continues, one word at a time.